peace. Thank you for the introduction. I actually have some friends here, and I have a lot of new friends, but I have two old friends that I've met at Mount Shasta. They'd like to stand up just so I see where you're at. I want to feel your energy. Thank you. I met you both at Mount Shasta, and of course you everywhere. Thank you. I want to thank you for coming out. I know there's a lot of things you could have did tonight, like meditate, pray, exercise, but you chose to come here. And I'll promise to give you inspiration, if nothing else. I was asked before I talk, like I am everywhere I go, what are you going to talk about? And my answer always surprises my host because I say, I don't know, we'll both find out, right? So I usually kind of start off kind of slow and I look at the audience, and what I'm really gauging is the energy of the group. Why are you here? You know, some of you are seeking the purpose of life. Why are we here? What are we doing? Somebody else needs inspiration. Somebody's going through something with their family. So I try to pick up. And so I'll gauge some of my stories in my conversation with you. This is not a lecture. This is a conversation with you. And feel free to ask questions as I go along. I'll try to make time at the end. But IANDS is about near-death experiences. That's their main focus. So I'm going to start off on that. But I'm also going to share other adventures, because if you rely just on death as a way to find the divine and be inspired, it's not really the right track. You can't just keep dying to find God. So meditation and prayer and living your life with purpose. Now, some of you that know me know that every morning and every night, and I pray for over an hour every day after I meditate for an hour. So it's 2 hours a night, a couple hours in the morning. And I visualize people like I'm looking at you now. Tonight or tomorrow morning, I'll be visualizing this group in my prayer. And I visualize rainbow light and energy going into everybody. And I'm finding out from people getting feedback that it's actually working. I mean, people have really felt it. I just give, I don't ask. All right. So, is my microphone still? Okay, good. My first near-death experience, let's start right off there running. I was 8 years old, living in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I had double pneumonia. I had the mumps on both sides. I had something called Bright's disease of the kidneys, and my kidneys were failing. By the time I was taken to the doctors, they told my mother that I probably wasn't going to live, that they should make preparations. And I was put in isolation, and the family left. And I basically was all alone for 1 year. I had visits about once a week from family for about 10 to 15 minutes, on Sundays usually. And the rest of the time, I was left. Now, that sounds like a real punishment, but I'm going to tell you that's one of the best things that ever happened to me at 8 years old, 9 years old, because I literally learned to entertain myself and go within and seek something much greater than TV or magazines or coloring books or whatever. While I was there the first couple of nights, I was fading in and out, and I was laying on my bed in a darkened room, and I found myself sitting up. But I actually think my body was lying down, but I'm sitting up, so the body's behind me. And there in front of me is panorama, like a movie screen of my life, unfolding in front of me. I guess it took about an hour, maybe less, but it was everything for about 50 years till I was 58, 59 years old. I saw who I was going to marry. I saw myself in the Army. I saw myself watching the Kennedy assassination. I saw where I was going to live. Saw my children. So for an 8-year-old, it was interesting. Nobody to talk to, nobody to share it with. But later on in high school, when I was 14 years old, I saw this young girl that was going to be my future wife. She was 14, I was 14. And later on in my senior year, we went together, and then we broke up because I knew she had to go to college. I had to go to Vietnam. I had to fight a war. But I knew that she'd be there for me. And so I left for 6 years. I broke up with her in 1964, and in 1969, I asked her to marry me, and of course she says, "Where you been?" No. So I kept asking, and she said no, and I kept getting more positive. And no, I'm not a stalker. So I felt good about it because I saw it in a vision. I knew it was going to happen. So I went out and I bought a ring, wedding ring. And I had it in my pocket. And I said, when I really feel lucky, I'm going to take it out and ask her. So a few weeks later, it's a couple weeks before Christmas, December 10th, 1969. I go to her apartment, which she shared with another woman, on Twin Peaks, San Francisco. Beautiful view and everything. And they had this Christmas tree they've been putting up. The Christmas tree had 800 lights on it. And in those old days, if you had a string of lights and one light bulb was out, what happened? They're all out, right? And so she spent 6 hours, her and her roommate, trying to get it to work. And when I got there, they were frustrated. "Oh, here, you do it." And so I looked at the tree sitting here, and I just go, "What do you want? You want the lights on? No problem, watch." And I just went like that, and I tweaked one light. All of them went on. I have to admit, I was even very happy about that myself, but I saw from their reaction, they were surprised, but I knew it was going to happen. So I took out the ring, got down on my knee, and I said, "Will you marry me?" And of course, my wife figured anybody that lucky, she wanted to tag along, right? All right, so I'm going to take you to what I think is a little deeper journey. India, if you guys don't mind me talking about India. I went to India in 2004, ultimately looking for that guru on the mountaintop experience. You're looking for the guy that sits on the ledge and you climb up there and what's the purpose of life? And the guy looks at you. Anyway, I was looking for that guy. And so I decided to go to Babaji's cave. How many have read Autobiography of a Yogi? The same cave. That's the one that Larry Masha was at and found Babaji. And I wanted to go there, and it was a real difficult journey to get there. And when I got there, I was sick. I was already 3-4 weeks in the country, and I was sick. And I had dysentery. I won't go into details. I had dysentery. I had heart pain. I was dizzy. I was having fainting spells. All kinds of stuff was happening. I was in 3 weeks before, I lost 26 pounds in 3 weeks. So, I was not too strong. But I was going to this cave. So we found this Self-Realization Fellowship ashram, which is not called that there. It was a YSS ashram. And everybody was gone but the main guy, the Swami that was there. And I said I wanted to go to the cave, and he goes, "We got nobody to show anybody there. Everybody's gone to Ranchi, for a convocation." And I said, "I've come all this way. I'm almost 59 years old. I want to go to that cave." And he says, "Well, I'll think about it. We'll talk in the morning." So when the morning comes, he gives me the key to the gate into the temple. There's a Babaji temple they built up there at the cave. I don't know if you've been up there the last decade or so. There's a Babaji's temple. And they usually have these students take you up because there's paths and winding things up in the Himalayas. And there was nobody. So he takes a piece of paper and he takes a pen and he does this chicken scratch on this paper and he says, "Now if you go here down the road, not too far, but not that far," whatever that means. And he says, "and you're going to come to a fork in the road. Don't turn. But take the one that looks like it's right." So it was instructions like that. And it was like 30, 40 miles. Wasn't sure how far. He says, "Well, you'll know when you get there. And then turn off on this dirt road and go down until you can't go any farther. Get out and walk. And then you'll see a sign that says go up the hill and go up the hill." He says, "You think you can find it?" I go, "Yeah, sure. Yeah, I want to go. I was going to give it a shot." And I gave the instruction. My driver's looking at me, an Indian driver, and he had no. I said, "Just drive." So we drive down the road, and I say, "Stop, turn," just going off instinct. And we stopped, and then he stayed in the vehicle, and me and my buddy, an army buddy, Dave, we started walking. And the sign showing you the way up the trail was laying in the middle of the road. And there was like 8 cow trails going up to this mountain. So we picked one, and we started walking and going, and we kept picking another one, walking and going. We're lost, of course. We're not getting anywhere. And of course, I told you I had dysentery, right? So I'm stopping along the trail to make the flowers beautiful next year, right? So I'm feeling pain in my heart and everything else, and we're still going up this trail. Finally, we see at the top of the trail, we see the temple. But it's like several hours. We get up the temple and we collapse inside, unlock the door, and I collapse inside this Babaji temple, and it's got this big, huge painting of Babaji. I mean, it's got to be 6, 8 foot tall. It's beautiful. I mean, just mesmerizing. Caught my breath, but I was having trouble with my breathing. And then we walked the last couple hundred yards up this hill and found the cave and went in the cave. Now, what I did at the cave, I brought this list. Remember I said I pray for people all the time? I had made a list of everybody in my life that I felt needed prayers. People I loved, people that didn't love me, in fact, people that hated me. I had them all down here because I figured everybody needs prayer. If they've crossed my path, I had 4 pages. I had hundreds of names on this thing. And I went inside there and meditated, and I read mentally every name on that list because I wanted every one of those people to take this spiritual journey with me. And I took that list to all the sacred places in India, and I took it in there. And then it was time to go. I'm feeling really lightheaded. I'm thinking maybe it's a spiritual experience. I'm feeling really lightheaded and everything. And so my buddy lets me lead. That was his mistake. And we started going down the mountain. And of course, I'm going the wrong direction. I'm going 4 hours the wrong direction, and we're getting nowhere. We're totally lost in the Himalayan mountains. There's, big shady shadows of the sun. I mean, we're talking big, tall mountains. And all of a sudden, I'm standing on this cliff, like I'm standing on this edge right here. And I have a seizure. My head's going boom, and my heart's going boom, 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 boom. And then 30 foot off this cliff, and I land on my back on a boulder about the size of a Volkswagen. Just a big boulder. And I'm laying there, and I'm looking up at the sky, and I'm thinking in my mind that TV show, The Simpsons, and the sky and the clouds and everything. I'm looking at that, and I'm going, wow, there's the clouds. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking at me down there. I'm going, wait a minute, that's me on that rock. And I ain't breathing. And there's no pulse. There's no life. I'm feeling quite well. I mean, it doesn't bother me. Okay, that's cool. If you're going to dying, coming back from Babaji's cave is all right. And I'm laying there, just kind of, body's laying there basking, and I'm up above watching it all. And all of a sudden, I'm looking down there, and there's this large cobra snake. Now, I don't know how large it is, because every time I tell the story, I think my wife told me the first time he told the story, it was 6 foot. And then it got to 9 feet. So being an Irishman, it was probably 12 foot. But it was a large cobra snake. And if you ever had a cobra snake crawl over your body or your feet, then you don't sit there and get a tape measure out. It's a large snake, right? But this snake comes across my feet, and it was like in triage, clear, tink. It was like boom, and I jump up. And I take a breath. And I reach down, that snake is still crawling across my feet, and I start grabbing it and it slithered through my hands. I'd say the snake was like from here to the stairwell at least. And I kept grabbing it. My friend's up on the top of the cliff thinking I've gone nuts. What are you trying to grab this snake for? So I chase it, and I chase it down this path, and it disappears behind a waterfall. And for those of you who've read Autobiography of a Yogi, the chapter about Babaji's cave, there's a little part in there where it talks about Larry Masha going down after he had this experience to bathe, in this waterfall. And there was this little tiny waterfall. It's not on any maps, apparently. And it was just there. And that was what thought that came to me. This is the waterfall. That's where the cobra went, right through the waterfall and disappeared. And I'm going, wow, how beautiful is that, right? So meanwhile, my buddies we got to get back, because we told the Swami, he was a little worried about us, you got to be back before 5:30 because I'm going to lock up the gates. Nobody's coming in. So we get back, and he's out there with the gate, he's got the keys in it. And he asked me, and he says, did you find the cave? And I go, yeah. And I said, but a few things happened on the way, including I tumbled down another hill I forgot to tell you about, and it had like poison oak in it. So I had bumps and rashes all over. My shirt was torn. I was dirty. I was sick, and I was so happy. And I died, and it came back. So I was really quite happy. So I told him the whole story of it. Yeah, I told him the whole story of everything that happened. And there's this woman from Alaska that's standing behind us that was meditating at the ashram. She heard the story, and she goes, well, don't you know what they say about those who go to Babaji's cave? And she kept interrupting with that. Don't you know what they say? I finally go, okay, what do they say? And she says, those that have the most arduous journey to find Babaji's cave have the greatest blessing. And then the Swami kind of does this pat on the head and goes, let's go ahead and meditate. So that was that experience. Now, I'm going to take you to the third one so we could kind of roll through these. And I'm going to tell you there's other experiences. That was in 2004. I went looking for the guru, but I didn't meet the guru on the mountain. But in 2008, in Berkeley, California, I met one. And he invited me to his ashram, Gurunov. He says, come to the ashram, your family, right? So I go to his ashram. In my second year there, I spent 3-4 months at a time, which if you're going to go to an ashram, 3-4 months at a time is a way to go. I mean, because you really get into it. It's not a retreat anymore. It's not adventure. It's a way of life after several months. So I'm there one day, and he interrupts the meditation. He goes, Bill. Yeah, well, he says, I want you to go get your naughty palm reading. And of course, I joke around with him. I said, why, was I naughty? So he says, no, a naughty. So I'm thinking, I have no clue what he's talking about. And a palm reading, I thought he was talking about getting your palm read. Anybody know what a naughty palm reading is? Handful of people. I didn't know. You know, I'm ignorant. I didn't know. So he explained to me that the great rishis in India, who some people believe are ascended masters, the great rishis, 2,500 to 5,000 years ago, channeled information that people in the future would need, like in the year 100, in the year 7, you know, whatever, 1700 to 19, all the way through till I don't know when. And if you were one of these people that you would know to come to look for your information when the time was right. Not before, not late, but when the time was right, you'd find it. So he tells me that, and I'm going, yeah, I don't believe in this stuff. You know, it's like going to Las Vegas, you know, you get one of those mentalist acts. He says, no, for you it'll be true. And I said, well, how are they supposed to find mine? He says, well, they take your fingerprint. Right fingerprint if you're a man, left fingerprint if you're a woman. And the idea behind this, I was told, is like with astrology, no matter if it's Western astrology or Indian Vedic astrology, there's 12 signs of the zodiac. But with the fingerprint, I didn't know, 108 indentations. There's 108 possible categories. So these things be classified by that. And then I don't know how they break it down from then. I stopped asking questions. I said, okay. I said, I really don't want to go. And he says, go. It's an order. I said, okay. And I said, where's it at? And he says, yours is in Pune. I said, okay. And then I stopped and I said, well, why are there other locations? He says, you know, there could be 15 to 20. You know, they broke up the collection of these scrolls way back in when the British first came because they didn't want to lose them all. So if you had one, you'd have to go to the right place. It could be Delhi, it could be Mumbai, it could be Pune, it could be anywhere. So not only do you have to go to the right place, somebody has to match up your fingerprint, and then they ask you a series of about 40 questions, and you have to answer yes to all those to know that's yours. Now, it's called a naughty palm, like palm tree reading, because it's actually the branches from a palm tree. And they cut off the fronds, and they leave just the wood part. And then they grave and they write on this thing and they shellac it. Who knew? So I go there and I get my thumbprint and he says, mark some initial on there, you know, so I know it's you. And I said, okay, I'll put W. I never go by William. Only when I'm in trouble with my wife, it's William, right? So, and I told my friends, I said, don't tell them I'm married. Don't mention nothing. Don't tell my name. And I'm going in there and I'm only going to answer yes or no. No clues. So about an hour later, I get called to this little room, about 1/3 or 1/4 the size of the stage. It was real little, but it had about 500 candles going on, and it, you know, burning. Had every religious image you could think of. It had Jesus. It had Buddha. It had Zoroaster. It had anybody you could think of that was a religious icon was in there. It covered all the bases. They took no chance. I'm looking at it going, oh, okay. And they must have had a zillion, okay, maybe it's exaggeration, a few million incense, all burning. I come in there and it's like smoke. And I sit down, this guy comes in with what looks like Venetian blinds. If you've seen Venetian blinds, they kind of hang on strings. Each one of these things was strung. And he brought in a set and he says, this set, I'm not sure which one. And there was about a dozen or 20 or whatever. And he says, if you answer no, we'll stop on that. We'll go to the next one. So we went for the first 6. They were close, but no bananas. And he says, intuitively, I know the 7th one for you is it. The first thing he says is, your name is 4 letters long. Okay, good guess. And he says it starts with B. I go, okay, another good guess. 27 letters, he had a chance. It's Bill. B-I-L-L. Of course, he didn't say, he said B. All right, B-I-L-L. And then he goes, and your father's name was, meaning your father's dead, which he was, which I just found out. He died in 1973, but I didn't find out till just a year before I went there. I never knew my dad. So he goes, and your father's name is exactly the same as yours. I'm William Hector McDonald Jr. He's senior, obviously, so it's exactly the same. I'm thinking, well, that's a pretty good guess. So far, that's pretty good. It's a good mentalist act. And then he goes, and your mother's name, and he couldn't pronounce it, but he shows me on this writing on this thing. It's all Indian writing of some language, except it's got in English letters, Marcella. I go, yeah, that's my mother's name. And then he goes, and he says, this was your mother, Marcella. I mean, she's dead also. And I go, yeah. And then he goes, we don't have a word for it. He's trying to figure out how to tell me. He says, but according to this, you were like a foster kid, or you were away from home for a long period of time, away from your parents, at least one of your parents. And I go, yes. I didn't explain to him, I'd never met my dad, and I was away in a hospital for a year by myself. So I figured that was qualified, yes. And then he goes, and your wife's name. Remember I said I had that vision of who my wife was going to be? He says, your wife's name is Carol. Now I'm thinking, this thing's written 2,500 to 5,000 years ago, and somebody's already lined me up with my wife. I mean, come on, talk about arranged marriage. So, and he goes, and she graduated from one of the most prestigious universities. I just stopped and think. She went to the University of California, Berkeley. I'm thinking, yeah, that might count. I mean, I went to USF. That's a better school, but she thinks, she thinks, all right. So I said, yes. And then he went down my children and their status, being married and all that stuff. And boom, boom, boom. Then he finally gets this thing and he goes, you were born March 16th, 1946. And I'm just quiet. I'm going, well, you could guess. I don't know. You look at me. I'm 73 years old now. I mean, I don't know how old I look, but it's like, boy, that's a pretty good guess. That was the exact date, right? And I go, yeah, but what time? And he goes, we're having trouble with that. I go, oh, you're human, right? He says, yeah, we think it's either between 110 and 125 or something. And I said, yes. And the reason I said yes to that was because when I was born, I went into the hospital. This is one of these things about people born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Now, when I tell you this story, you will think something different. Went to the hospital, my mother said, I'm getting ready to deliver. I've had several children already, I know. And they said, no. You got to have an enema first. So yes, I was born in a bedpan. And while they're waiting for the doctor to come, my head's in this bedpan. So I was literally born in a pile of crap and spent uphill ever since, and I've loved life. So if somebody's got a more humble beginning than that, please come forward and take the lecture. But when the doctors got there, they didn't know what time I was born. So they think, well, it was between 110 and 125. So I think they guessed about they put 115 or something on the certificate. And it's odd that when I had this reading, that they couldn't tell either. And they gave me the same response that the doctors gave. So it was like, wow, that's scripted? How'd these guys come up? That's good. Hollywood writing. That's pretty good. So, and then it went through and it said another 40 questions, including you're currently writing a book, which is out there, Alchemy. You're currently writing a book about Shiva and your guru. And I go, yeah, nobody knew that. Except one or two people. And then I went through all these other marvelous things, you know, and it says that, and your guru is Lord Shiva. And then then in my mind saying, nobody can be a direct disciple of Lord Shiva. And then his next breath was, and your guru is Gornoff, present guru. So I don't know exactly what that meant. I'm still trying to figure that one out. So he finishes the 40 questions. And so I'm happy. I pull out my wallet. I'm going to pay him. And he goes, no. That was not your reading. That's the index card. That's so now we can go and do your Vedic chart and pull it up and see what it says. So about 6 hours later, I'm sitting down there and I have two interpreters because apparently the chart's done in one language or something and somebody interprets it in another language and this other guy interprets it to English to me. So they go in there and my guru told me to tell them, I wanted to know my most significant sin in a lifetime that would be something that could relate to now, why I'm in the situation I am now. What's my most significant, sin, karmic sin? Now, the couple people that just had theirs done before me from the ashram, I mean, they beheaded somebody else was a thief, and it was all kinds of stuff. And I'm going, holy cow, what's this going to be, right? So it turns out, now, take this with a grain of salt, because I don't accept anything. When people start talking about past lives, nobody has any evidence of any past life. There's nothing to stand on. It's a nice story. It's good. Okay, great. So I'll tell you the stories that told to me. It's not me making it up. It's somebody else making it up. But it kind of made sense. So he says, in a most significant lifetime prior to this one, when he had ties with your present guru, he says, you were his senior monk in charge of the ashram in Sri Lanka, what's now Sri Lanka. And everything was going very well. You were a very spiritual, holy man in a great relationship until you had a wandering thought. Like, oh my God, wandering thought. And he's, what's all this about, right? So, for a fleeting moment, you had a desire to fall in love with some woman. And the guru immediately picked up on that and cursed your mind and sent you out of the ashram because you thought about, you're a monk, right? You thought about a woman, you fell in love, but didn't take no action on it. And he says, yeah, it says, according to this chart here, you were going to take no action on it, but the thought was in your mind. And so but you were cursed, you were sent away. And then you end that lifetime years later, wandering around through India, you're bathed in the Ganges River, and you come up with your last breath of air, and Lord Shiva's there, and you dissolve into a rainbow, and you leave. And according to them, it makes a good story. And according to them, that's how I left the last 20-some lifetimes. As far as they could go back, this is the way I've always left, in a rainbow body. So take it for what it's worth. There's no evidence. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to leave in a Ford F-150 truck out there. So, but then he asked me, he says, now to prove that this connection is to where you're at today, what's the first thing this guru that you're with now did for you when he met you? So I stopped and thought. When I met him in Berkeley, I just come from the doctor the day before where I went in because I was having epileptic seizures. I got blown up in Vietnam in 1967 by a rocket, hit my head, and I had this concussion so bad that I was having a couple hundred seizures a year, which kind of complicates things when you're trying to keep it quiet and nobody knows. It's kind of... So I collapsed at the Lodi Zoo in California and just a few days before I met him. And when I went to the doctor, they go, you have one more seizure because you had 280 that year. And it was only August. And the guy's going, if you have one more, you could die. I said, well, thank you. I'll make sure I'll have a designated driver. Anyway, so I left and I went and met this guru because he sent for me. He says, one of his people called and said he's going to be in the Bay Area and he wants to meet you. So, so there I am. And when I met him, he's got this whole audience that is satsang. And he looks out in the audience and he sees me sitting there and he just stares at me like this, like I'm looking at this guy right here with the glasses and the mustache. And he goes, I'm sending out healing vibrations for the brain. Not cancer, world peace, harmony for everybody. he's just looking at me and says, for the brain. And my whole body's kind of going, you know, lighting up and doing all kinds of, going weird and crazy. And that was August of 2008. That was my last seizure. That was what, 11 years ago? Not a seizure since then. So the guy asked me, he says, well, what's the first thing he did for you? Well, the first thing he did for me was he cured my mind. Head problem, brain problem, right? So that was the connection. He says, well, that's why we told you that story, and that's why that life came up, to show you that there's a connection. All right. So I get this reading, and I'm thinking, okay, anybody can make up the past. But then they proceed to tell me about everything I did before I walked in that door. You know, marriage, life, children. And so that's kind of spooky. That, I'm going, that's a pretty good trick, because they could tell you about the future, you don't know. They can tell you about the past, there's no evidence. And then he goes in the future, and he made all these predictions, which 95% of them have happened so far. So I'm running out of predictions. And he even told me when I was going to die, which he says, we don't ever tell anybody that, but in your case, you need it so you can plan and go out and do what you got to do, because you got to know that you've only got so many grains of sand left in the old hourglass. So get out there. He says, the only way that can change is if your guru or Lord Shiva, somebody blesses you and changes it, but only if you're doing work for the divine. Nothing personal. I said, okay. Now we're going to a near-death experience that brings all that in. In 2011, I go to the ashram after stopping in Germany and having heart problems in Germany. I still get on the airplane, I fly to Mumbai, and I go to the ashram. And I'm going around the country of India introducing Gurnoff to all these Indian audiences, you know, telling stories. You know, being an Irishman, that's the guy they always get to tell stories, right? So I'm introducing them, except for this one event. It's an early morning event. He goes, I get some Indians introducing me. You go up to the top of the stadium there. There's a big outdoor amphitheater. And I'm at the top. There's thousands of people there. You can't see me. Well, I'm up there, and he's teaching them Surya, a type of exercise that brings the power of the sun to you and recharges your body. There's one or two people in the audience may understand that, but it's one thing you need to know is it's a spiritual process to bring sun energy into your body. And he's doing that, and all of a sudden I collapse. There's thousands of people around me. And I collapse. I'm laying down. This is India, of course. Everybody just ignores you. I'm laying down for 20 minutes having a full-fledged heart attack, major heart attack. And all of a sudden what I'm told, he kind of stops. And he tells everybody, because then he changes his routine. He says, okay, I want everybody to close your eyes. And I want everybody, thousands, right? I want all of you to visualize the power of the sun coming into your heart chakra. Sun, heart chakra, sun, heart. He did this for 20 minutes. People go, what is this? Sun and the heart chakra, sun and the heart chakra. Nobody ever seen it before. It's never been done again. But I recover. I go, wow, I'm getting better. So I get up, and he said, then when it's all over, he gets on the microphone and he goes, Gil, come on down. I go, no, you know, so I come on down and I walk on this little stage that he's on. How many times I got to keep saving you? I go, that's all he had to say, right? And I walked off. So, but it was really a bad heart attack. It did major, major damage. And so I was told to go home, and on the way home, of course, on the airplane, I collapsed. I collapsed in Denver at customs. And 6 hours later, God knows why, they let me back on an airplane, because I told them I'm going to, the ER in Sacramento. You don't let somebody on an airplane when they have a heart attack. Because, I got blood clots going to my lungs now, too. So when I get off the airplane, I'm in the hospital. They put me 4 days intensive care just so I have the energy to have the operation, because they couldn't operate on me because I was so far gone. So finally, the day of the operation comes, and it's quadruple bypass. Split the chest open, they open it up. In this particular procedure, they use ice cold water. I don't know what they did, but somehow they chilled the body, stopped the heart. If we got anybody that works with that, you'll understand, because I didn't want too many details from the doctor. That was enough. I said, okay. stopping my heart. And I said, okay, doc, you stop my heart, you stop my lungs, yeah, but I'm still alive. He goes, well, we're going to feed oxygen into your system through a lung machine, heart-lung machine. So it'll be oxygenated. You don't have to do anything. He says, for all intents and purposes, you're dead. We're keeping your body alive, though. I said, okay. Am I going to feel anything? He says, well, we don't give you much anesthesia in that state, but some people complain. So that felt really good going under at that time, right? I go, okay. As soon as I go under, I'm no longer in the operating room. I'm standing up fully clothed. I went from a naked body laying on a metal table to fully clothed. And I'm at this Shiva temple in southern India. In my prediction, they said, you will go to a southern temple, and I named it. I can't pronounce it, can't remember it. At my age, I'm lucky to remember my wife's name. Her name is Wife. Anyway, so in the prediction, it said, when you get to this temple, you're to walk uphill for 2 to 4 hours. When you reach the top, you will find all the rishis waiting for you to awaken knowledge in you. You will no longer have to ask any questions. You'll remember. So that was the prediction, which I thought was really a stupid prediction. But there I am. I'm thinking, well, my body's not here, but I'm here. And it felt real, like it's real ground. I'm talking and looking around. I'm there. And I go, well, I might as well enjoy it. This is better than laying on the operating table. Right? So, okay, so I start walking uphill. This must be it, because I'm thinking, this is it. And the operation takes 6-8 hours, right? So it's like plenty of time. I got time. I'll take the walk. It was real. I mean, it was as real as I'm looking at you right now, as me standing right here. And when I get near the top, there's a little fire pit going. And there's some logs and some rocks. And of course, there's all these guys with funny beard and funny hair and the rishis. And I walk up, and I don't have to introduce myself. They all kind of, and I sit down. And there with them, standing with his arms folded this way and then behind his back, he goes, Beal. I look at him. It's Gornoff. Remember the guy? Gornoff from the ashram. I'm going, wow. And then I don't have to ask any questions. I don't. There's nothing I needed to know. I had no desire or no need to know anything. I felt fully at peace. Everything was going well. And then all of a sudden, this bright light comes, which I call the angel of death, in a good sense. Beautiful feminine voice, feminine energy. And it was, Bill, you don't have to suffer anymore. You've done enough. Come, step over. I promise you peace and love and bliss. No more pain. And then I got this Gornoff guy, remember him? This Gornoff guy standing there and going, Peter, you could skip a beat, but don't stop your heart, right? Don't give up heart. That's what you could skip a beat, but don't give up heart. And I go, what? He says, you got to hang around. I got more pain and more suffering for you. And I go, wait a minute. For me, bliss and joy and all this good stuff, and you're saying hang around for more pain? He says, yeah, even more than you had before, because before, when you had pain, we blissed you out, and you always got through pain. But now we're asking you to really suffer so you can teach other people about pain. I go, hey, look, this other deal sounds better, right? And then he does this, and all around me is this sea of faces of people I'm going to meet. And he says, see all them? There's something that needs to be touched in them that only you can do. You can leave, but your real dharma, if you're a real warrior, your real dharma, carry out this duty. I go, wow, man. So finally, I'm feeling tugging and pulling in my body, and I'm going, what's going on? Next thing I know, boom, chunk. They jump-started my heart, and there I was on the table again, and great pain. have that much anesthesia, so I was in great pain. So I come through the next 10 days, I keep having this battle with the guru coming there and the woman saying, come. And every time the guru would say, you can skip a few beats, but don't give up heart. And I was going, oh man, this is crazy. I'm ready to go. I mean, I'm ready to go. And it wasn't, and I had children and grandchildren and wife and a lot of beautiful things, but it was, I had been in so much pain and so much suffering that I was ready. I'll admit it. And then I had an emergency problem, and it was 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, and they had to take me down for an MRI. I was filling up with fluids, and I needed 5 pints of blood. And the phone rings, and they wouldn't let me answer. I said, no, I have to answer that phone. And of course, my voice was real groggy. I sounded like a Porky Pig or one of those. It sounded really terrible. It was just really grouty. And I pick up the phone, hello, and I hear this voice says, this is Gurnoff in India. I go, okay, that narrows it down, like I know a lot of Gurnoffs, right? Yeah, that one. And he goes, don't give up heart. You could skip a few beats, but don't give up heart. Just what he'd been saying for 10 days. And then that wasn't enough really to convince me. And then he goes, I just told all these people here to go up and pray for you because I was going to heal you. I go, oh, come on, grow up. So I thanked him, I hung up, and then I told my wife, I said, I can't die. I'll embarrass my guru. He just told everybody he's going to cure me. How would it look if his number one guy he just says he's going to cure dies, so I can't die. So I was out of the hospital 3 days later. But the last thing that happened there, I had this other prediction. Remember the predictions? And the prediction was, one day, Babaji or Lord Shiva will come and pour ointments on your head and bless you. So I'm laying in my hospital bed, and there's a dome of light energy all around the bed. It's like, I can't, there's nothing, nothing get in or out. And at the end of the bed, in flesh and blood, is that image that you see in the autobiography of Yogi of Babaji. No shirt on even. I'm going, this is crazy in the hospital. But I'm thinking, I'm delusional, but this is okay. This is a good delusion. This is good. I can handle this. Nobody's ever going to believe me, but this is good. I get out of the hospital. A couple days later, my daughter comes over and says, you know, David Ryan came over to see you. And I go, no, I didn't see him. She says, yeah, he came into your room and he was going to talk to you, but he had this crazy young Indian guy, and there were long hair, chanting and pouring stuff on your head with no shirt on. And he thought it was funny and he left. So anyway, there were several other things that happened in the predictions, which obviously I don't have enough time. 7:30, is that my time on this? 8? Oh, great. We could keep going. Okay. So Babaji. That wasn't the first time I experienced Babaji in healing. But the first time was embarrassing. I was at the ashram, and we were sitting around a campfire. Gurnoff went off, and he left us to take care of the place. And a bunch of us at the ashram were telling ghost stories. You know, you do around a campfire, ghost stories, you know, a man with one hand with the hook. Anyway, so everybody was telling these stuff, and this one guy goes, yeah, I was an alcoholic and doing drugs. I saw demons and all this stuff. I said, look, remember, I'm telling this at a very sacred place. I go, there's nothing that scares me. I've seen demons. I've seen this. I've seen war. There's nothing that scares me. I challenge the universe. Never do that. So I go to my little hut, and it was dark, and I'm all alone. I open the door open, and I shine the flashlight in. They're sitting on my bed in a lotus position. It's Babaji with laser eyes, with the lasers coming right at me, like not smiling, just. And I go, oh! And I throw the flashlight up, and it spins around like in that movie, 2001: Space Odyssey with the apes. And I'm down my hands and knees finding the flashlight. My heart is going boom, 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 boom. I think I'm gonna have a heart attack. I finally shine it on the bed, and there's nobody there. I look around. I go, thank God nobody saw this. And I got this reputation. They call me the general because of my military record. The general. General's not scared of nothing, right? So I think, okay, this is a secret. So the next morning, I'm walking across the ashram to get something to eat. And I hear these little feet behind me catching up. And he goes, by the way, I didn't think those things were supposed to scare you. I go, and he looks at me and he goes, now you got to tell the story at breakfast, right? So everybody knew then, right? But when I had my heart attack, because this is a good one to talk about. When I had my heart attack in India that preceded that operation, my last day at the ashram, I went into the kitchen. It was my last few hours there. And I was sitting in this chair with my back to the door, the kitchen. And you know when you feel somebody at a movie theater, somebody's watching your back, you turn around, what are you looking at me for? I felt that. And I turned around. And there was Surya, who was a Swami of Paramahansa Yogananda. For those that don't know him, he's a very saintly guru. But he's standing there like this, just watching me, a few feet away. And I'm looking around thinking, okay, I have a heart attack. I'm going to have a heart surgery. Obviously, I'm delusional. Nobody sees this. So I asked, there was several people there, and I asked a couple of people, and they go, okay. Some people just started new, I see nothing. And this one guy from Texas, and he goes, Bill, he says, I don't know what's behind you exactly. He says, but it's a big blaze of light, and I'm feeling such love emanating from it. I said, well, that's pretty good. And then I looked at this guy named Brian, a lawyer. So lawyers are spiritual too. I just want to set the record straight since we're going worldwide on this today. And he goes, Bill, he says, you're not going to believe this. I said, try me. He says, I see Surya standing behind you, smiling, and looking at you the way Gurdjieff does with his hands behind his back. And I said, yes, Brian, it's exactly what I see. Which gets me to the point of this. Things happen. Like right now, honestly, right now, we could have angels floating right above us. Oh, they are. There they are. But we could have divine presence among us right now, sitting in these seats with us. We could have them all over the place here. Somebody in this audience might see him. A child might see him. But depending on your belief and your acceptance and your openness of your heart and the energy in your body, meaning that the more meditation you have, the greater, finer, refined your energy is, you see things, in the other dimensions. So there's a case where people's levels of meditation and their openness, depending on what they saw. It was the same vision for two of us. A partial vision for one guy, and the rest of people go, they didn't get it. So you got to tell yourself, what are we all missing? And I read something in a history book once upon a time, and I think it illustrates the point. And that's when Christopher Columbus sailed into the New World with 3 ships, and he approached the first island that he went to, the natives had never seen a big ship like that before. So they didn't believe it. They sailed in the harbor. Nobody saw them. Because their mind would just filter it out. And that point was proven by the TV show Mind Games, where they had, at UCLA, they took all these students, they sat them in a room like this with a stage, and they had these couples up there dancing. And they were told, here's a pencil, piece of paper, keep track of how many times each couple changes. So I want to know how many different pairs there were. Concentrate, just focus on the dancers. So everybody, they played a thing and it was all over. So they all said, 30 times. They debated what. And the guy says, how many saw the two gorillas, or one, I guess it was one gorilla. One gorilla that was walking around all 4 groups. And they all looked at him. Nobody saw the gorilla. So when they showed a video, and if you saw that show on TV, it shows it, this guy in a gorilla suit dances circles around each group and goes off stage. Not one person in the audience, not one student saw it because they were not expecting it. They were only focused on the dancers. And I bring this because there's people here that have had angels present in their life, unbeknownst to them, looking after them, aiding and comforting them, but they fail to see them. You have to be like a child. You have to be open-hearted. And that brings me to my grandson. Some of you, one or at least one person here knows my grandson, Gianni. He was 3 years old before I met Grunoff. And he was having these great visions. Every night when he went to bed, he had all these holy men come to him. And he described these guys with beards and everything, you know. I opened up a book and I said, what are you talking about? And he opens up this book and he points out Babaji, Larry Masha, Sirateshwar. And then he looks at this other book I got and he goes, on him, it was Grunoff. He said, yeah, they come to me at night and he brings all their friends and they're teaching me things and he's doing all these neat things and everything. And I said, wow. So, so he goes, meets Grunoff, and I said, Grunoff, this is my grandson. We know each other, and they all hug and everything. And so Grunoff, I said, he'll tell you the story about the bird. My grandson cured this bird, right? So this bird flies into the sliding glass window, you know, and drops, and its head's broken, it's laying there. And my grandson is just like, we got to help this bird. And also, the whole family's out there looking at it, my daughter and everybody. And Johnny goes, we'll pray for it, right? So pray for it. And then my daughter goes, well, we'll ask Grunoff to bless it. And, you know, and Johnny, this little guy, he's really young, and he goes, go get a glass of water. Tells his dad, go get a glass of water. So his dad goes, gets a glass of water. And he pours the water on the bird. And then the bird gets up, flies away. So it's like, so he tells the story to Grunoff. And then Grunoff goes, yeah, I healed the bird. And then Johnny says, no, I healed the bird. And then they had this argument back and forth, who healed the bird. So, you know, back and forth. And then finally Grunoff goes, okay, Johnny, we both healed the bird. He says, okay. But remarkable young men. Children, this generation, I just kind of throwing it out there because several grandparents out here, this generation of children coming up are really very special. Even those that you don't think are too bright or they got some kind of disorder, some of those are very blessed. I found I was working with the Catholic Church in Florida by Jacksonville with a camp for adults with mental injuries and disabilities. And I thought I was doing that. I was going to feel good, you know, and I'm helping them. The second year I did it, I realized they were helping me. There was one of these young people there, young, 40s, and he tells me, he says, Reverend Bill, says, I talked to an angel last night. I go, okay. But the nuns and the priests that were there to go, yeah. I said, no, the guy says he talked to an angel. I don't think this guy could lie, right? So later on in the week, he's looking up at this tree, and he says, there's an angel up in that tree. And everybody goes, yeah, sure. So he took some pictures of people inside this chapel, and there was windows behind it, and that tree was there. But when you blew it up, there was a little white angel in this evergreen tree. Exactly where he said there was an angel. It was like, wow. Never doubt the wisdom and the innocence of children. And that's why the Bible says, you know, be like a child. Because when you're a child, you let all your guards down, you let all your defenses down. I mean, all of us going around, we got our egos, we're adults, you know, we know everything. I'm finding out, like when I went to the ashram, I was there the first time, I was there 3-4 months. And after 2 months, I come to the guru and I go, hey, look, you know, when I was 20, I thought I knew a lot. 30, I knew a lot. At 40, I thought I had the answers to the universe. I said, I've been here a couple months. I don't know nothing. And he looks at me and pats me on the head and he goes, all right, the cup's empty now. Let's go learn. Let's go meditate, right? So when we empty all that garbage that's within us and realize that what we believe today, right this moment, what you believe today, you may not believe in 5 years from now. You're going to be evolving. This is constantly changing. You're growing. Well, I'm getting a good feeling from this group here. When I said that, I'm sorry. I'm just, wow. All right, you're growing as a group here. And so, I don't want to cry, but you guys are making me cry. All right, let's go on. So when I'm in India, a lot of unique things happened. For example, my first trip to India, I'm in a hired car. We're running late. We're trying to drive up to the Golden Temple. And on this road, this guy's going way faster than you should. And it says 120 K, it must be about 60 miles an hour, I guess. And we're going down this highway in India with no fencing. There's cows once in a while coming across. But all of a sudden, we're going 60 miles an hour, and right in the windshield, about from here to where he's sitting right here with the camera, there's this holy man. I mean, he's got a loincloth. He's got the hair, the big eyes, the beard. I mean, he's like you picture in Hollywood, right? That's the holy guy, right? And he's standing there right in front of the car, and we're coming right at him. And then it seemed like it was 15 seconds. It was like forever. I'm saying a prayer, and the guy in the front seat, the Indian driver goes, he's saying a prayer to one of his gods, monkey god, I think it was the monkey god. And I said, okay, good. But at the time, we're all watching this guy, waiting for him to be impaled on the front of our car. And just as we got to him, he's gone, and we looked in the back, and he's in the back of us, walking. I'm going. So that was the beginning of the trip to India. It was just one thing after another thing after another thing. It's like when I went to the desert. Went to the desert. Unlike Arizona, it really was a desert in India, really dry. And this guy goes, you got to go to this temple, the monkey temple. I go, what's the monkey? That wasn't the name of it, but that's what they called it. So we go to this temple, and there's all these monkeys, and everybody goes there, and there's healing water. And when I'm there, this guy goes, up on this mountain, there's this guy that worships the sun. I'm going, oh, yeah, it's just what I need, a sun worshiper. This is 2004. I said, yeah, okay, great. No, he says, there's a real nice open temple up there. So my buddy, Dave, same guy I'm traveling with, he says, let's go hike up this. We hike up this thing, we get up the temple, and there's this guru guy watching us come up the road. And by this time in India, it was several months. I don't pay anybody anything. I don't pay for blessings. I don't pay for a flower lay. I don't pay for a colored string around my wrist. I'm not into any of those games. Nah, I don't pay for blessings. So I get up there, and the guy goes, I go, nah, whatever you want. I don't want to buy. He goes, no, I made these 2 garlands for you. And they were from flowers right there, right? I saw you come in. I made these 2 garlands. I said, we're not paying for them. He goes. So I said, okay. So I take them. So we got these garlands on. We're walking down the hill. I'm looking at the guy, and there's at least one person or 2 people know what I'm talking about. He has those grown off eyes, the bulgy eyes. He's got the earrings, the knot earrings. Doesn't have a beard, though. But every time I remember the guy, I try to remember what he looks like, I always picture Gurnoff for some reason. But at the time I didn't meet him, it was years later. So we're coming down the hill, and this guy follows me, this pilgrim of some kind, young guy, and he grabs onto me. He tells me that he wants to teach me a meditation. I had a dream about you. You're the guy. I go, no. He says, no, please. So I taught him a real simple meditation, and gave him a bottle of water, and I thanked him and everything. And I went down the hill, and we got back to where the monkeys are at. And there's this lady with this basket of cobras. Remember the cobras? My friend. And she has a stick, and she's banging this basket. And all these cobras are getting angry. They're slithering up, there are at least a half a dozen of them. And I get mad at her. I'm going, what are you doing to those cobras? I walk right over to the basket. Basket's right here, and I'm standing over the top of the basket. Basket's between my legs. Now, guys, think about this. I got these cobras coming up all around in here. And I just reached down, and I grabbed one like this, and I go, I don't want, and I'm shaking it, right? And not by the head, I got the middle of its body, right? And pretty soon it's starting to slither around my neck, its tail, and I got it like this. And then I'm looking at that, and its head's coming up like this. And all of a sudden, I feel my eyelashes going from its tongue. Now, I don't know if any of you had the pleasure of looking down the throat of a cobra. And this one wasn't one of the ones with the teeth pulled out that you see normally in India. You know, they pull the teeth out and they defang them, the poison out. This was fresh. It still had its teeth. It still had its poison, as far as I know. And there it was, eyeball to eyeball, and I'm looking down inside of it, and I got hypnotized, mesmerized. And I just stared at it. It was like infinity. It was like the darkness went on forever. And I'm just looking at it, and my friend is running away. I mean, he's 25 feet away. He says, those are spitting cobras. What's that? And I'm just, for about 10 minutes, just me and this cobra. And he's just there. His mouth is open the whole time, but the fangs hanging down. And he's like an inch from my eyeball. Greatest feeling in the world. I felt so at peace. There was love between me and that cobra. And then it wrapped all the way around my neck, and it came up like this. And I got another one out, and it went down my shirt and wrapped around my waist. Of course, my friend's freaking out. And of course, the woman that opened, she wants me to pay her money now for it, entertainment. But later on, when I went to the ashram, I saw a picture, because I never saw a picture of Shiva with all the cobras. I didn't know the significance. But I was given this room at the ashram several years later, and they only had one piece of art in all the rooms. There was only one room, and that's the room I was assigned. And in that room was Lord Shiva with this cobra, looking him right in the eye, right? And I go, oh, that's kind of neat. That's kind of significant. Well, I'm open to questions, because I could, honestly, I have gone on 8 to 10 hours when I'm overseas, people that nobody gets up and leaves. Everybody just sits there, and I go, if nobody stops me, I just crazy, man. I just keep going. So I will gladly take questions. And if I don't know the answer, I'll certainly make them up. And if you're happy with them, then that'll be the answer. Yes, right over there. Young lady. And that applies to anybody in this audience, because I'm probably the top of the heap here.
So how did you come back from that first near-death experience when you were 8?
A year in the hospital. Yeah, I came back because I loved and I wanted to serve. But I just came back, but I was still sick. I mean, very, very sick. And it took a year in the hospital plus about 7 years of daily visits once a week to the hospital and medication for years. Yeah, so it wasn't a quick cure. But when I left the hospital, I came home, became a vegetarian, and read Autobiography of a Yogi and started meditating pretty seriously. I knew what I wanted to do. It changed me. And those who've had near-death experiences, it's an altering thing. It does change you every time it steps you up. Over there, the young blonde lady there, Christina.
About your nadi reading.
Yes.
I'm thinking about what that implies about free will and choice. I mean, the fact that you went in there, and this
Hold
was
it close to
written
your mouth,
2,500
please.
years ago. So tell me what this means about our choices, and do we really have any?
All right, let's talk about that, because that was one of my questions. Basically, I'd say been told, but I can't tell you who told me. It's kind of like I gleaned this. I kind of intuit this. Since all time is now, all time. I mean, 1,000 years from now is the same as now. Except 1,000 years from now, young lady, you're a saint, right? You're evolving. And in the past, you were whatever you are. So whatever you're doing in the now affects the future and affects the past. Somebody give me some water, it'd be great. Thank you. And I believe it's our creation. We created that future that's predicted. It's the probability that we're going to do this or that. Now, you get some people get the nadi reading, and they decide to go against it. And they do something different, and their reading will change. Mine was told to me, and the guy said, yours is the most solid one we've seen. It's there, because you only got a short block of time, and yours is in stone. It's going to take a it's going to take a guru to change it for you. So, yeah, come on right up here, Chris. What a good man. Come on up here. Come up and join me. All right.
You're going to have to two-fist them because they're little. There you
Okay,
go.
good. Thank you. This is to you. So, I'm going to be giving a talk in San Jose on that very subject. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to meditate for 4 or 5 hours before I give the talk, because I think it's a question that really needs wisdom to answer. And I don't know if I'm the smartest guy in the block. I'm not even sure I'm the smartest guy in my own household. There's just me and my wife. In fact, I know I'm not. But yeah, that's a big debate. But absolutely, I think ultimately everything happens to us. And I'm told that even divine grace, if you know what that is, even divine grace is earned. There's no gift. You've earned it. You've done things. You've cried out for redemption. You've done something, right? So you take predictions on a Vedic chart, your star chart, and then follow those. This got to be the day. I don't believe in that. I think sometimes your will can be stronger than that, but it's going to be harder. I think if you're a master of yourself, you can do it. But your thoughts, your desires, your actions from previous life, from this life, what you visualize, what you think about, what you dream about, all these things manifest your future. So these guys in the past, 2,500 to 5,000 years ago, for them, they're looking at now. They just go forward and look at it now. They see what you're doing. They didn't predict it. They just recorded it. That's my take on it. And I'll tell you what, the only thing I know for sure is what love is. Everything else is a theory. But when somebody loves you, that's not theoretical. And the only purpose that you're really here is to love and to serve. Not to be loved and not to be served or not even to be understood or even liked. That's somebody else's problem. When you die, nobody's going to say, well, who did he love? No. Yeah, they will. But the essence is, who did he love? People go, oh, I loved him and all. No. Who did he love? That defines who he was. So when you're dead, have some relative say, who did he love? Who'd she love? It says a lot about the person. And if you love your enemies, there's no greater love in the world. Because when you turn an enemy by pure love, not trying to squash them out. I mean, we got parents, we got relatives, we got bosses, we got enough people. I mean, everybody's got a list of people that I'm saying turn that into your prayer list. All these people should be where you're sending your love. The people that, your grandkids you love, okay, great. You love your kids, you love this. That's expected. But love those people that are hard to love. I got in trouble with one group because I told them, I said, who's ever prayed for Hitler's soul? Now one hand went up, and I go, who needed more love than anybody in the world? He's going to reincarnate. Don't you want him to be successful? And then when you think about it, that we're all one. No theory there. We're all one. What happens to you is important to me because we're connected. It's all the same body. It's all the same spirit. There's only one spirit. I think God's having a lot of fun with us in this big dream of his, but as long as your ego believes in pain and suffering, it's there. And as long as you're wearing this body, you'll have pain and suffering. That's a given. You'll have the pain. Now, the degree of suffering that you have, that's a choice. Because to me, people go, well, you always look happy. Every time you ask how you are, I say, I'm doing great. Well, I got congestive heart failure. I got diabetes. I mean, I go down a whole list of stuff. I got neck damage from the war. I'm in 24/7 pain. I'm supposed to have a hip replacement 1998. I'm still walking around grinding it out. Right? And, if people know it's like, it's not comfortable. But it's all right here. So if you ask me how I feel, I'm great. I only got 3 answers. I'm great, I'm excellent, and if I was any better, I'd be you. Right? That's it. And you talk to some people, how are you? They go, oh man, I got arthritis, rheumatism, I got this, that. They'll give you a whole list. 20 minutes later, they're still going on that list, They define themselves. You are divine beings. This body of ours will decay, it'll rot, it's gone, it's expendable. That's not who you are. You're this consciousness. And we're all connected at that level. Or as a friend of mine said, this is a paraphrase Gurdjieff, because he always says, at the level of consciousness, we're all one. Well, I had a friend in Italy that says, at the level of consciousness, we're all Italian, right? Anyway, another question. Right over here. Okay, you got it? Red shirt.
You mentioned Surya. It was something, you mentioned Surya earlier. It was something we could learn.
Did I say what? Kriya? What did I say?
Yes.
Surya. Surya yoga. It's an exercise you do out in the sunshine. You do all these movements and breathing, and you visualize the energy of the sun coming into your body to heal it, give it strength and energy. I got an instructor back there that lives here right in town that could teach you how to do it. Stand up. Introduce yourself and tell them.
Hi everyone, my name is Chris Montgomery, and I'm
So he lives right here in town, and it's
Here we go. Now I'm official. Surya is S-U-R-Y-A, Surya, and that is the deity of the sun. And Surya Yoga.
now you're also a teacher teaches Kriya Yoga too, right?
Kriya Yoga, yes.
All right. So if you want to know the higher levels, you got somebody right here in this town in Arizona that does it. Because I'm going to be in another city tomorrow, and another city, and another city. But please be in the lobby afterwards so that anybody wants to contact you.
Absolutely.
All right, got any other questions? But that was a good question, though. It's a very powerful exercise. And I believe we're still giving that as a free, no charge for Surya learning it. It's given away to the worldwide. Yep.
One more question here too. So, you've just voiced some of this, the expression of the karma that you endure, hips and
Yep.
other things. How is that possible? You had a rainbow light body experience some time ago. So can you say anything about rainbow light body? I think I've got some really messed up ideas about, I thought that was like the epitome of everything. And once you took light body, you're free. You only come back if you're a bodhisattva.
But you notice when the rainbow body appears, the body's dead.
Yeah.
So maybe I got to be dead first, right? If you're still wearing this body, you're still wearing an ego, you still got aches and pains, you still got arthritis, you still got whatever you got. I don't understand everything. I had a rainbow body experience. I got time to tell it? How much time do I got? If you guys want to hear, I was meditating. I was first married, had a couple kids, and I was practicing Hong Saw technique. Anybody self-realization fellowship here? Okay, Hong Saw technique. And I had, it's breathing, you're focusing on the breath, Hong Saw, and it's very powerful. And if yoga, it's kind of considered a baby Kriya, because you can reach samadhi with it. It's just a beautiful thing. And I finished my couple-hour meditation, and I was laying in bed, and I'm laying in bed, and my nightstand's there, and there's a picture of Paramahansa Yogananda. It's the last photo taken of him before he drops to the floor when he died. And and I'm looking at the eyes, and I'm just looking at the eyes. I'm looking at this photo, and next thing, I'm not only out of the body, I'm just this film of rainbow light. And I'm streaking through, I would say space, but that's no time, no space. I don't know what it is. It's like Star Trek. Remember the old Star Trek where they put it in warp speed and you see all the lights go shh, and you're just going and going. That's what's happening. I'm just going and going and going. And I feel love from everything out there, all the light, what looks like planets, what looks like other rainbow bodies out there. It was a oneness, and I could feel this great love. I have a video on YouTube on it, which I would go into big details. And in my first book, I talk about it pretty heavy, but it's, I was gone only an hour from my body. But in the experience, it was 300 million years. I mean, I was there forever. It was an eternity. And I knew the purpose of my group. Apparently, and it could be all crazy stuff, so I'm just throwing this out. This rainbow body was made up of other rainbows. It was like a group body, if that makes any sense. It made sense to me during the experience. It's like your cells, your body make up the hand, but it's not the body. It is the body, the whole hand. So this particular group had a purpose in the evolutionary process, and that was spiritual evolution, inspiring people to advance. And there was another rainbow body group that was into science and medicine, and some other group into the arts, literature, whatever. It looked like there was a different evolutionary task for these various rainbow families. And they would periodically, members of this family would reincarnate into this world. That's what I came back with. And there was much more which I write about, but also a lot that I can't discuss. And it wasn't until I thought and remembered that I actually had a family. After 300 million years of floating around here, I remembered I had a family in this now. And 2,000-pound body, that weight when you, okay, how many people have had out-of-body experience? Raise your hand. Okay, the feeling when you drop back in? All right, even more so. But I was so overwhelmed, I broke down and cried for a couple hours. I didn't want to come back. It was so much love. And I came back realizing that there's nothing else in the universe but love. That energy that holds the atoms together, it's the energy that is rainbow, it's energies, that's anything. It's all love. Without love, there is no creation. And in essence, they say God is, everybody's created in the image of God. It's all love. That's why we're all the same, even though you think you look different. On a molecular level, we're all the same. These chairs, they've got the same stuff vibrating in them, a dog, cat, whatever it is. Everything's built out of the same thing. It's love holds it all together. Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But that story would take, because I don't have time, that story would take, to tell it properly, about an hour. But it was the most transcendent experience of my life. All right, let's talk about what is love. Trying to define love is probably a waste of time. It's one of those things that when you're loved, you know it. And when you love somebody, you know it. Is there a definition? If you were a blind man, you asked me, what's the color yellow? I said, well, it's a combination of this. And it's almost like, what explanation would tell you what it was? So, to me, love is feeling the presence of the divine. That's it. And that's the only true love. Everything else is, you're in love. No, you're in lust. It's a whole different thing. Or you're in love with a new car. That's different. But I'm talking about pure love, divine love. For some of you out there, because I've met a lot of people, they meditate and they're always analyzing how they did, and they're meditating for peace, they're meditating for serenity, they're meditating to get a job, they're meditating to get healthy, they always got a motive, and then they want powers, they want to do out-of-body traveling, they want to read minds, they want to do all these things. You're missing the boat. The only reason why you meditate is to spend time in love with the divine. If you're going into meditation with anything else, you're selling it short, and that's why nothing happens. You can only go so far. You can go to the door, but you can't open it. So don't waste your time. People waste it. They get so involved in the techniques. Well, I got to practice this technique. I'm not doing it right. I could fall down, lay down, and meditate in a crumbled position. It does make a difference. If you love God, God will open the door. But if you don't love God in all, like, well, I don't love Hindus, and I don't like Muslims, and I don't like people from Canada, and whatever it is, I don't like fat people, skinny people. If you got all these things, no. And I don't like this uncle because he didn't give me any money. You have to love the God in all. And when you see God in all, the beggar on the street, the homeless person, and my God, there's a lot of homeless people out there, and they're not all druggies. There's good people out there. And even the ones that are druggies are good people. They're all trying to create joy in their own way. And we as a society need to help them out. So you're driving down the road and you see a homeless person on the highway. This is just my personal thing as I deal with homeless people. Maybe you don't give them money. But if you're giving them judgment, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Give them love. You go by, send them a prayer. Bless that man, bless that woman, bless that family. If you don't think that's nothing, it is something. Every time you bless somebody, I tell you what, I pray for a whole list of dead people that I know. Because I know on the other side, when you pray for them, they feel that light, they feel that energy. Especially, how many here have had a suicide friend, family member, suicide? If you're not praying for them every day, you're missing a boat. That's how you help them out of the darkness. That's how you help them get out of that hell they've created. They need to know that they're loved, or they stay in the darkness. So think about that. Even your plants need love, right? Come on. As that great philosopher Paul McCartney once said, and John Lennon, all you need is what? All right, you get the point. Any more questions? Here we go.
How do I switch from my small mind that's into negativity to the oneness of love?
Okay. Well, first off, if you're starting your day off with an alarm clock, boom, jumping out of bed, getting a cup of coffee, smoking a cigarette, getting in your car, going through the god-awful traffic, in the morning commute, and watching the news and running around doing your job, you're missing out. Someplace along the line, you got to disconnect from all that. Even if you have to do these things, you have to disconnect. Your intentions when you wake up, and you should wake up earlier. Your intentions are to love and to serve. And once you get into focus on loving and serving, because we can do it wherever we're at. I mean, if you're a school teacher, there's that way. If you're a nurse, there's that way. If you're working in a restaurant, you're bringing love and joy to the people that you wait on. If you're a cook, you cook beautiful food. If you're a parent, you do great things for your kid. Whatever it is, you do with love. Picture the people that you're serving as God. When you have a guest at your house, it's God. When you see a stranger, that's God. When somebody chides you and it just makes you angry, that's God. Let's try to see God in everybody. And when you see God, you see the greater picture. We're here not just to go through life, buy a house, get a nice car, get cable TV, get a nice phone, computer, go to concerts. I mean, what's the purpose of that? To come back over and over and do that same stuff every lifetime. That's not why we're here. This is school. And we each got to realize that we're all in the boat together. Everybody grab a paddle. There's no free ride. Let's paddle. And if your brother don't paddle, paddle for him. You are your brother's keeper because you are your brother. I am you. You are me. We are one. That's why that old powerful thing about I am is a beautiful thing. 'Cause once you realize that you are that, we're all that. Somebody says to me, well, this guy's special, this guru's special. That God didn't make anybody special, more special. You're all special. How could you be any not special? Because you're all God. It's all one. So nobody's more special. There's no chosen people. Nobody's been blessed to be better than anybody else. We've created our own situation to get back to the free will. Where we're at right now is where we put ourselves. If it looks like it's random and my God, I got bills and this happened and I got sick and this, you don't know the reason. Sometimes people are sick because they're working off karma at a greater level. Some gurus take on illnesses for their devotees or for the world or whatever. I mean, Jesus, did he deserve to die on a cross? Oh, it was his karma. That wasn't his karma. He volunteered for that. So you get people come into this world and volunteer for pain and suffering. You see somebody that was born crippled and you go, oh, terrible, this person's they got no limbs, they're blind. Some people choose to work off a lot of karma by coming in and give me as much as you can give me, right? It's a lot of very spiritual people in these bad bodies. So you can't judge. You don't know where we're at. And we don't know what we've done in the past, and that's a good thing. But trust yourself. Don't believe everything that you're told, even from me. Don't believe. If you've experienced it, if you felt it, then it's real. I'm telling you about love. If you feel it, it's real, great. But if you go around constantly being angry with people and hating people, guess who's getting all the anger and all the hate? Yourself. You give out anger, you get back anger. But you get it more than you give out. It's like you get it in aces. So if you just nothing else, say you're selfish. A real selfish person wouldn't do anything bad to anybody else because they know they're going to get it back. So for my sake, I'm not going to be a bad guy to anybody else, right? That's where you got to be. You got to wake up in the morning and realize that you have another day, another opportunity. Thank God. Instead of, oh God, another day, it's, oh God, it's another day. This is great, Every day you're given a chance, an opportunity to help someone. But you can't help somebody until you've taken care of yourself first. I mean, I've seen people out there trying to heal people and do this and that. And I'm going, look, you ain't even making a living, man. Get your own life in order, get your own house in order before you go too crazy trying to help everybody else. But you help from where you're at. And each of us has an obligation to help the next person down. Now, you may not intuitively know or judge that this person needs, but you know what? If you only seek out people that are spiritual in your life and you want them to come to you and help you, then when this guy down here that you consider not worthy of your time wants help from you, how dare you not help him? You're asking this guy that's more spiritually advanced, so-called, to help you. So there's this reach up to somebody that's greater than you, the energy, you'll feel it. And your obligation is to reach down to somebody else so they can reach up. And you form a chain and we all get up there together. It's like, an example, you get a guru. Think of him as a Sherpa going up Mount Everest. But you want to climb to that top of the mountain with somebody that's never been there before. You want to go with somebody that knows how to get to the top. So find somebody and he'll string of it in a long rope down the mountain. You'll have some down the valley, some up near the summit, some on the summit. But they're all on that same rope going to the same place. They're all going to make it. I'm telling you, everybody in this room, you're all going to make it. Everybody gets there. You will get to the light. And you will be the light. And then once you get rid of your astral body and the casual body and the rainbow body, those are all bodies. There's still a little bit of an ego separating you because you're not one with God. So one day when you give it all up, there is no identity. It's just, I am God. And you are. So don't take it lightly. Now, everybody that came here tonight, I don't believe nothing's random. There was a reason. maybe something in my talk, maybe read. Honestly, I'm here on my own dollar. You know, I mean, I don't get paid to talk. If you want to buy my book that helps support what I'm doing, which is helping veterans, I'm meeting with a group PTSD veterans tomorrow. And I travel around the world. I got the Spiritual Warriors Ministries, which is made up of interfaith chaplains. I got 2 Catholic priests. I got an Episcopalian priest. I just got a guy last week that's a Church of Christ. I'm not sure what religion that is, but Church of Christ. He's got a degree of divinity from Yale. And I got all these guys working for me, and I only got I got 3 rules. Whatever religion they are, don't change it. Meet them where they're at. This is not about making them what religion you are. Say, don't preach religion, spirituality. Second rule, you don't ask any of them for money that you help. If they throw it at you, give it to you, okay. But you don't ask. You self-fund. And the third thing is you serve with love to all. So I'm out there, we're doing free weddings, free funerals for veterans, homeless people, and we're counseling people in hospital and jails. Now, there's lots of work out there. Now, down the road, go to my website, get my card back there, get my website. If sometime you want to be a chaplain and join this thing, we don't even tell you what to do. But if you're looking for an umbrella, well, I'm with Spiritual Warriors Ministries. That will get you into prisons, will get you into hospitals. And you want to be a chaplain and do your own thing. If you follow those rules, we bless you, we send you off and do it. You don't even have to give us a report. Just who you are. And is this thing dying? I'm dying. So, well, actually, we're all dying a little bit every day. So that's what I do. And so I hope that if you get a chance to read either one of my books, there's one's autobiography, Warrior, it's called A Spiritual Odyssey, and the other one is Alchemy of a Warrior's Heart, which takes the journeys to India and all that. It's the last 10 years. And so we come in here with the basket, so I don't know what that's for.
Tell about your workshop tomorrow.
Workshop, oh yeah, okay. I have a workshop coming up Saturday, right? Whoever's got the time on that. Time and a place for the workshop. I got a workshop, I'm giving a workshop, and the money for that workshop is all going to IANDS. I've donated my time to do the workshop. And in the workshop, it's going to be, depending on the people coming there, that's what we're going to do, because I'm going to kind of see who the crowd is. And I'll take each individual person in the group to where I think they need to go. And we'll do some healing at a deeper level. The body's one thing. Spiritual healing that's what you're going to take with you from lifetime to life. That's the luggage you want to take. Everybody's always trying to conquer the body. Conquer the spirit. So if you want to come to that workshop, great. Was it $40 or something?
Yes.
But if you don't have anything, come anyway. Just say, I don't have anything. If you got $30, if you got $50, it's all going to IANDS to help support talks like this. So they can get this room and pay for stuff and advertise and do all this. So it's a good cause. So I'm here to support IANDS. I was in Newport Beach, and now I'm here, and then I'll be at Tucson or Phoenix and Mesa and all kinds of other places. This is what I do. I go all around the world. I try to work with veterans. I never charge for veterans, ever. But it's people like you out there, the spiritual base, that are helping, and it's appreciated. It's just a way to serve. So think about that. So I don't have any specifics on the workshop, but she can give it to you. Somebody can give it to you.
Yeah, we actually were offering it as a prize, and we asked people if they would be willing to go to Mesa. But if you change your mind and you want to go, it's $40 and $35 for members. At the door, it'll be $45 and $40. So if you do decide to go, it'd be appreciated. As he said, everything's coming back to us, and that'll be beneficial. It does get our speakers here, because we can't get them here for nothing.
Yeah, sometimes they got to fly them in, so they got to pay for the flights.
Or pay for the gas.
Or pay for the gas. So the whole thing with me is I like to break even if possible. But I plow everything back into the ministry. So there's never anything. But I'm here to answer personal questions, and I got my business cards back. I got my cards back there. If you want to contact me, if you want to Facebook me, send me a friend request. If you want to go to my website, there's all kinds of videos. There's YouTube videos, my schedule where I'm at. If you have questions you want to ask me, ask. I do respond. It surprises some people sometimes, but I do respond. If you need prayers, let me know. I have ministry of people. We pray for you. And let's do this before we end, because this is what I did.
Oh, we're not ending yet.
Oh,
Don't be-
good. Well, I'm gonna do something with them though. All right, hold your horses there. I want everybody to close your eyes, because this group we're generating some different energy here. So I want to do something for you, kind of experience something. Here's what I do in the night, in the morning. When I finish my meditations and I start my prayers, I visualize people just like you. And I picture above us right now this cloud of rainbow energy. And the chakra, our crown chakra, this energy is coming down. Visualize that rainbow energy penetrating your skull right now. It's going down through all your chakras, your heart chakra most especially. It's lighting it up. I want you to picture this around embracing you. Literally be embraced by the light. And this light is a rainbow light. And I want you to feel that. And this little exercise you can do on your own tonight when you go to bed. Here's a promise. Tonight when you go to bed and you finish your meditations or your prayers, I want you to do the same thing. I want to visualize your grandchild, your daughter, your son, the friend, the sick parent, whoever it is, the neighbor that you don't like, whatever it is, I want you to visualize them with this rainbow light penetrating their crown chakra, hitting their heart chakra. So the light just radiates all the way back out through their body. So around them, there's this 2 or 3 feet of rainbow. Make them a rainbow body. Make yourself right now feel that rainbow energy within you. Your ability to visualize and see and feel that will not make it just an imaginary journey, but can make it actually real. It's about your belief. It's like healing. Anyway, just open your eyes slowly now, but realize that tonight, whenever I get around to it, tonight, before midnight comes, you'll all be having this circle around you, because I'll remember this audience, and you'll be having this. So all I ask for you is to open your heart up tonight. Feel the love coming to you. I'm sending you love. What you do with that love is up to you. Feel it in your heart.
Thank you. All right.
You want this one?
Howie, you wanted to say something. And now he's going to do it. So if you can just be a little more patient, and then we'll do our raffle.
It will be short. You are part tonight of an experiment. Bill's talk went out all over the United States via Zoom, which we are using more and more. It's live streaming. And this is our plan for now, the rest of this season, next month, and for all of next year. So if you have family anywhere that would like to watch these, you can go to IANDS.org, look under events, and you can sign up for a ticket. That simple. Click on the link when it's emailed to you, and you get it. This is such wonderful technology. We're recording it so we can share it later with people. It's just totally awesome. So it's really important when you ask your questions, you have a microphone, because it won't get on the film if you don't use a microphone. Yes, sir. We don't typically do workshops unless the speaker allows us to do it. So probably not this Saturday, but that's his decision. He can make that on Saturday and let me know. I'll have equipment there to do it. Okay? Thank you, Swain.
Thank you.
All right, can I get down? Am I done?
Well, we would like you to pull the raffle.
Oh, I'm
tickets.
holding the raffle. Okay. I'd like to give me a round of applause, though.
Oh, thank you.